Hey everybody, so this week I want to talk about a question that I often get in the comment section in a lot of these lesson videos, and that is how to create a successful practice routine. Now this comes down to what you really want or need out of your practice routine. Do you want more chops? Do you want better ears? Do you want better lines? I'm going to break down how to structure a practice routine, and then from there we can modify it to fit whatever you're trying to work on. Okay, so first off, even before we talk about the practice routine, we're going to talk about one of the most important things that helped me progress and still does to this day, and that is using a timer. Whenever I sit down to practice, I always put on a timer. Now this does two things. One, it helps you keep track of the time so you can practice more efficiently, but two, it helps you want to practice. Let me explain. So oftentimes, people practice a song until they either feel satisfied or they become too frustrated and then they stop. This is bad because you don't have a desire to go back and practice the next day because you either completed your practice session and felt satisfied and so you don't need to touch it, or maybe you're just too frustrated to continue. You played it great at the end of your practice session yesterday, so why would you need to continue? Then what happens is you usually get to the gig or get to the jam session and you don't play as well as you did when you were practicing. By setting a timer, you will most likely not get finished with what you're trying to work on before the timer goes off. And this is the good thing, because when that happens, you're going to want to finish practicing and you're going to want to go back the next day and complete whatever you were working on. Doing this every day with your practice routine will train your brain to want to practice. Okay, so now that we have that out of the way, let's talk about structuring a practice routine. So when you're making a practice routine, you want to think about how much time you can put into it and what you're going to get out of it. For this video, I'm going to assume that you can practice 1 hour each day of the week. Now, once we set how much time that we're going to set aside to practice every day or each week, then we need to look about how we can divide that time. If I only had an hour, I would like to split that hour up into 30-minute chunks of time. So for today's lesson, I'm going to plan this practice routine around a beginner to intermediate level, but you can adapt it to a higher level when you see fit. So the 4 different 30-minute chunks that we're going to break this up into is 1. Fretboard mastery, 2. Transcribing, 3. Learning tunes, and 4. Application. For this type of practice routine, you're going to need an A day and a B day, so to speak, since you only have 1 hour to practice each day. For fretboard mastery, our first chunk, what this is going to be is focusing on scales, arpeggios, chord shapes, etc. I find that learning these types of concepts are very important. However, they're just tools in order to make music. Learning scales will very much help you in jazz, but it will not grant you the ability to play jazz. For your scales, I would start with major, minor, dominant bebop, and melodic and harmonic minor. You'd be surprised about how far these 5 scales can take you. Make sure to practice them all across the neck, not just in one position. For chord shapes, make sure you know your drop 2 and drop 3 chord shapes. Also make sure to learn them on different string sets with the roots on the A, on the E, and on the D strings. Once you have that, then maybe work on the inversions of those chord shapes. This includes basic chord qualities like major 7 and 6, minor 7 and 6, dominant and altered dominant, and half diminished. The same thing goes for arpeggios. For practice time, just choose one of these concepts and focus on that during your fretboard mastery time. You could practice arpeggios one day, chord shapes the next, scales the next, etc. The key to making this practice work is to be consistent. Lastly, remember to focus on note names whenever you're learning these scales or chord shapes. Memorizing the note names along with the chord shapes and scale shapes will give you the best mindset when improvising in jazz. Next is the transcribing section. This can double as ear training too. If you start transcribing things by ear, in turn, you will get a better ear. When you start transcribing, make sure to pick something small, like a line in a solo that you like. Use your ear and learn that lick on the guitar, and then write it down. Move on to another lick and repeat this process after that. By starting small like this, it makes it easier to not get frustrated, unlike if you just dive in and try to tackle a whole solo right off the bat. it's just virtually going to be impossible and won't be the most efficient way to use your time. Then, once you transcribe a couple licks like this, then work your way up to a solo. Maybe just start with 1 chorus and then go to 2 choruses. If you do transcribe a whole solo, then just pick 3 licks from that solo and move those licks to different keys. Moving licks to different keys is a core concept in how to memorize jazz language, so make sure to do it even though it might be hard at first. Then once you have enough licks built up from either just transcribing and pulling them from solos or learning a whole solo, then try writing out a chorus or 2 over a blues using just the licks that you've transcribed. Also work on transcribing the chords of songs. Listen to the bass first when hearing chords. Just keep rewinding the song over and over again until you can start hearing exactly what the bass player is doing. And this might take a while, as a lot of times our ears aren't used to just focusing on a specific instrument in a recording. Usually in standards, the bass plays the root of whatever chord it's playing on beat 1. So what we do is we listen for when you can hear the chords change or a change in the sound and try to find where beat 1 is, then try to hear exactly what note the bass player is playing on that beat. Transcribing is hard at first, but if you work on it every day, it'll become easier and you'll be surprised about what you can hear and do when you're playing with other people or when you're playing on the gig. So now we've come to learning tunes. This is extremely important, as if you don't know tunes, you won't have things to play with other musicians, as well as not having an outlet to apply whatever language concepts you've learned from your transcriptions. Always try to learn the melody of a song by ear and not from a PDF. Also, always try to learn the melody from a singer, especially one that sings it maybe very plain and doesn't embellish the melody a lot. Some examples of singers that I like to learn standards from are Frank Sinatra, Julie London, Nat King Cole, and Doris Day for starters. Once you have the melody down, then try and hear the chords. It's okay to look up the chords when you're first starting. However, just like when we're transcribing, try to use your ear as much as you can first, and then use a PDF to reference later. You'll find that learning the melody will help you hear the chords as well. A lot of times the melodies have key notes that really drive what the chords are going to be. Also try and set goals when learning tunes. Maybe learn 1 tune a week, or focus on different styles, such as tunes that centered around a minor key, or bossa novas, or 3/4 time. Always make sure to build up your tune repertoire and make sure that it's all memorized. Don't use the real book when you're calling the tune. Lastly, we have application. This simply means trying to apply what you've been practicing in a structured format. For example, if you've been working on a couple licks or licks from a transcription, try writing out a solo using only those licks. If it's a whole transcription, then write out a solo using only the language from that transcription. Or if you're working on chord shapes, try comping over the standard that you're working on using the chord shapes that you're working on. It doesn't even have to be the whole tune that you're comping over. It could just be the A section or the B section. You could also use this time and try to analyze some of the licks that you've been learning from your transcriptions. Theory practice is important too. Or try to analyze the chord progression of the standard that you're learning. Then take that tune and move it to a different key. The key to applying what you're practicing is to take everything and work on it in small chunks each and every day. Don't expect to transpose tunes or to improvise freely with language right off the bat or even after a month of practicing. It takes time and consistency. The last thing I want to say before I close this video is that in order to make this practice session count and make your practicing matter the most, you need a mentor or teacher as well as a community to play or perform with. It's impossible to work on improving, even with YouTube videos like this one, if you don't have someone to help guide you along the way. All the information you need is out there on the internet right now, but without someone to help guide you, it really is useless. You also need to play with people. It not only motivates you, but gives you an outlet to practice the things that you've been shedding. Hopefully this video helped you understand a good starting point to develop your own practice routine. Divide it up, use a timer, and be consistent. If you guys want me to clarify or expand on any one of the concepts that I talked about in this video, make sure to let me know in the comment section below and we can talk about it. If you like what I'm doing on this channel, make sure to hit that subscribe and like button. And as always, thanks for watching, and remember to always keep swinging.